Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Heartwell dev stream, the live stream series where I continue to develop this adorable Souls-like action RPG with platforming mechanics and a branching narrative. And if you find these dev streams interesting or helpful, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and boop that bell button to stay notified. Of course, in our previous dev stream, we focused a lot on starting to build out some of the levels, and we got pretty decently far, so obviously all the exterior sections are laid out now, and we were starting to set up some of the platforming setups. So for example, over here, again, just seamless transition. Obviously, you can see the platforms right now because I reactivated the visibility for testing purposes, but these would be invisible right here while still functioning as expected, which is to be a tutorial for the player. However, what we'll be doing today is continuing to work on that, but before we hop into continuing to build things out, I actually did spend some time off stream redesign a couple of the taller segments of this tutorial dungeon in order to make better use of our platforming resources. So let me just do a quick run through of that. So the way this was previously designed, as you can see here. Also, hello Copper Nicholson, thanks for dropping by. How's it going? I've never heard that one, Copper Nicholson. Alright, fair enough. Take your time, dude. Anyway, so as I was explaining, in the way this tutorial dungeon was previously designed, at least the central well, is that this is a very long and tall section here in the well. And every time you go up a section, it increases the height we have to deal with quite a bit until we reach like a floor level of like 5 or 6 and a slope level of 7. Now you might say, Antomicx, what's the problem with that? The problem with that, well, not so much the problem, just an unoptimization of that, is that every time there's a new height, whether it's like a floor tile or a slope tile, that means I need to create a new, essentially active object, a unique type of active object to represent that particular height. And in something as tall as this, that can create a lot of extra active objects rather than duplicates of previous active objects. So what I did off stream, and then this is the old tile map for this section here. I started to create some adjusted sections. So you'll notice in this one, there's a lot more 1s, 2s, and 3s here. You might say, Anton, how's that even possible? So what I've done, and it's a bit, I see that we have some sections from further below bleeding in here, so bear with me here. The premise here was to keep the height increases as minimal as possible. So you notice adjusted some things down here. Now there's a 1 slope and another 1 slope, jumping across 1, 2, 3, but then back down to 2. This is my attempt to, again, reduce the amount of unique tiles we would have to make. Or, you know, he's saying, okay, Anton, so you're doing this, these lower slopes, that's great and all, but considering that all this central tunnel is connected, how is that even possible? Like, couldn't someone say jump from here to here? Well, no, and that's because of a quirk with how I programmed the slopes here. So I'm just going to duplicate a couple of these things to prove a point. This is a 1 slope, if you will. It's for a slope with a z-axis height of 1. This is a slope for a z-axis height of 2. And this is a slope for a z-axis height of 3. So these should all be, I'll temporarily make these visible to for demonstration purposes. Also, re-message Jazz Toa. Howdy everybody, I have a very important message for Reambean. I need to tell him that True Strike is the worst cantrip in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. The spell allows the caster to roll a melee attack with advantage on their next turn. Why is this a bad thing? Because it takes an entire action to cast. You can just make 2 attack rolls to get the same effect, and then you have the chance to land both attacks. Just plain mechanically broken. Only a total million will use a spell like this. Fair enough, Copper Nicholson, fair enough. But anyway, regarding slopes, the way these works is Dorothy is capable of jumping up 2 slopes, so to speak, but she's only able to go to a platform that's 1 level above her. So in this section, we have slope levels 1, 2, 3. The furthest up I can get is around the 2 slope, but I can't go past the 3 slope, even if I came from the side here. you'll notice the 3 slope completely blocks me. Additionally, if I walked down this like, let's say I were on a platform, you'll notice I just immediately slide. There's nothing I can do. That's all to be expected with the slope here. Where this gets interesting is when I start to use different elevations in slopes. So this is a 2 slope. Technically, it should be a lower elevation than the 3 slope, right? Same thing goes with a 1 slope, lower elevation than 2. So, all right, no worries, Copper Nicholson. Do what works best for you, dude. So what this allows me to do is you'll notice if I walk down the 1 slope, it still yeets me down, and that's because the way this is programmed, slopes, once you're in a falling animation, so to speak, are going to force you downward, and there isn't really anything you can do to stop it until you actually land on a tile or a space where the falling animation stops. As a result, even though this is technically a lower z-axis value for a slope, functionally, it's the same as if this were a higher elevation. Now, here's where it gets interesting, chat. With this basic principle, what you can effectively do in a section like this is cordon things off like that. Like, every single one of these sections can be cordoned off like this, or something similar to this. So, effectively what this does, you would have a level 1 tile here. I'll even walk up here just to demonstrate this. So, this level 1 tile here adds this, of course, you know, your falling slope, and there could be a bunch of these down here. But over here, if I try to jump upwards, the 3 slope stops me. And that's okay, because that's what we expect. It also prevents me from, you know, throwing a projectile pull upwards in that direction, because we shouldn't be able to, obviously we shouldn't be able to do that since we're, the 3 slope will stop that. But more importantly, when we're up here, again, it stops the same thing in principle going the other way, so I can't like throw a projectile on an enemy bar beneath me because of the slopes. But I still can, as I'm walking down, you know, get yeeted downwards. So functionally, it's the same, but behind the scenes, it actually means I can use fewer unique active objects to accomplish the same thing. So, that principle is why we've designed, is why we are redesigning the what is it? Just do that real quick. Okay. So that principle is what led to this set here. So because of that, because there's enough space here, it is possible to actually just use 1, 2, and 3 tile, like 3 level tiles just to get here. So whereas before I would have had to create like 3 or 4 new types of slopes to make this one section, now I just need to make a 4 slope and that's it. Which makes this a whole lot easier. and it's also just more efficient resource management in general, because we have more 0 sections and therefore not as many tiles. I'm sorry to hear you're having a rough time there, Copper Nicholson. So, I'm going to try and transfer this a new section over to where things used to be. And we'll go from there. So, let's see, is there any way I can, yeah. Alright, so fortunately for this edit, it still lines up very much with how it used to be, at least in terms of alignment. So I put my cursor there. We'll have our new section all imported in. So I actually did have to move that stairwell one tile to the right to give enough space for this section to still work, but that's okay. It's all part of the design. Did I line that up correctly? Yeah. Alright. So this will be the new tile map. And we'll work on importing that in shortly. We'll just get rid of this section because that doesn't This was leftover tile stuff from when I was editing things. Same goes for over here. There we go. Not sure. Not really, Copper Nicholson. And you might just be itchy at some parts. You know, it happens and sometimes. But glad to hear you're right. It's good exercise. So we will be working on importing that, but that's not the only section I had to redesign due to the changes in height constraints here. So I also did some work on the lower section of the tutorial dungeon. So what we're seeing here is the old version of the tutorial dungeon's lower half, which, you know, lots of color here for the most part, except for the center, which we'll work on the art at some point. But as you can see, you probably already see the issue here. This old section, the way it was designed, had a lot of higher, just escalating in amounts of higher and higher tiles, going all the way up to even as high as like a slope of 9 and a tile of 7. Which again, super, super high, and this is like the only section in this entire underground that's even like this. And the closest we get to that is over here with the starting here, but even then, like the highest you'd see here is like a tile set of 5. And that, of course, begs the question, and alright, Antomicx, there wasn't really much space here to begin with. How do you make sure, how would you redesign this section to make it all still work? Because as you can see, you know, we don't really want to shift things over here on the right because that's already well established. We need that stairwell to be right there because that stairwell connects back up to here. Yeah, right back up to there, so it needs to be there. And of course, we can't really move the left too much to the left either, so we're kind of stuck in this slot, so we would think. Well, to redesign that, what I've done is I kept the same premise for each section here. I've just moved it around a bit. So this is still very much the same. You wander through a winding path here that eventually it leads us all the way over or here, where you hop up and then loop back up to here. Not much difference there. However, as we get a bit higher, you'll see that things have changed markedly. So whereas before it was all very much scrunched together, very tightly compacted with higher elevations, now it just takes us to a different section that allows us to, well, that allows us to have a lower path over here, or circle around, hop up here, that leads to different places, and so on and so forth. And again, the original premises for these are still the same, so the enemy placements or the enemy combination and ideas would be quite similar to what they used to be. It's just that now, instead of having all these massive height differentials, you instead have just these two sections here that loop back into different paths but still accomplish the same thing. So we'll be transferring these over to start. Alright, so what we'll line up here then, chat, is this door, because this middle section's changed so much that we want to have a different reference to line up with. Right. Our line will be that corner there. Just like that. Should be a good fit. Alright. Hello, Jake Eagle the Eagle. Thanks for dropping by, dude. How's it going? Is time travel 2 hours for Star Wars? Not really. I wouldn't think so. I'm glad to hear you're doing well, Jake Eagle the Eagle. So what we're doing is I actually took the time to redesign sections. Now that we're actually in the implementation stage, I noticed that there were probably things I could do to make my use of tiles a bit more efficient. So one of the things I did, you'll probably notice here, is I'm cutting down on the elevation tiles I need. So with the previous design, Jade Eagle to Eagle, we needed like tile levels as high as like 7 or 8, which is a lot of unique active objects to have just for the sake of platforming. And just by expanding out some sections a little bit, I'm able to use, again, much fewer unique tiles while still accomplishing the same thing. I didn't see that announcement, Jade Eagle. I'm glad to hear that you're dating along well now with your friend. Glad to hear it. But as I was saying, this was a redesign effort, not just for here, but also for this well section. Thanks, Jade Eagle. So this well section was also fun to redesign because once I figured out that the way I programmed slopes allows you to actually slide from a lower elevation slope to a higher elevation slope, with the player really being none the wiser because this is all just for the sake of functionality. What it meant is I could redesign this entire well section to literally be like the left and right can be at the same elevation and yet still have the slopey effects when you're in the middle. Which is kind of hilarious when you think about it. It's like functionally, but from a functional standpoint, this means I have to use a lot fewer different types of tiles, which will help a ton in terms of optimizing the game, the level design of it. So what we're going to do now is transfer these new tile maps over into Fusion so that we can start reworking our pathing a bit. Then what we'll do is create ourselves the new what's it called? We'll create ourselves the higher level slopes. So I think I have a slope of, I want to say 5 is the maximum. No. I think the max I need is probably a slope of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, the max I would need is a slope of 6. So we need to make just 3 new slopes. Shouldn't be too complicated. But that'll help it expand things out a bit. Alrighty. Awesome. Oh, it's alright, JD Eagle. So what I'm doing right now is we're transferring over the new tile maps into here. So what I like to do is break them out into 512 by 512 pixels to make it hit easier. So the way Fusion 2.5 compiles things, it's generally in your best interest to leave as much in like quick backdrop objects and backdrop objects as possible, so that way, because those take up a lot less memory and are, improved performance. So anything visually aesthetic that serves no purpose other than to inform the player, it's better to put in things like this. And we're just updating this because we've adjusted how the layout of these things. Okey-doke. And then, like puzzle pieces, it all comes together. See? Informing us of what we actually need to do from a functional standpoint. Like I said, I did have to shift this staircase over to make it all work. That's all good. And just like that, bada bang, bada boom, we have our adjusted staircase here. Obviously, I will need to move some things here in terms of like the backdrops here, especially since, you know, this is now blocking the stairwell and some of the other pathing, but we'll take care of that. We'll take care of that. JD will only say, you wish you had a similar tile map system in Unity. You're not familiar, however, the experience I do have with it is just uploading texture and then changing tiling settings. Interesting. So, does it mean like you can't have quite as much visual control in Unity as you do here? Is that what you're saying, JT Illegal, or am I misunderstanding? Because I've only used Unity in very, very, very limited amounts. Oh, so I was correct. I see. Yeah, that's one of the things I love about Fusion 2.5 is, well, there are some limitations, which, you know, I mean, he said many, many times how it irks me how many limitations there are about object scoping in with Fusion 2.5. I still love the fact that it's very much a visual editing and programming sort of thing. And it lets someone who's a more visual-minded like myself make levels more easily, because I can see all this stuff and be like, oh, I want to change that, let's just upload some different tiles here, and bada bang, bada boom, done. Yes, right? Now, granted, this does mean I need a different software to actually make the tile maps in an efficient manner, but, you know, whatever. I think I consider that a minor drawback, personally. So, that's the central well updated. Let's update the lower well. What'll be interesting about this is I really, really hope that the way I redesigned the central section still allows scrolling in this section here. As ideally, unless I have like a super massive map it would cause lag just to make a huge frame for, I would want it to be so that the players kind of always like center of the screen, unless I want to use like something creative with it. If they would go a long way and be very cool with Fusion support JavaScript, it would be a great way to get new devs involved with programming and gives you infinitely more power. So the thing is, there is actual support for a programming language in Fusion. It's not JavaScript, but I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something. Let me see if I can find it in the it's probably in the manager. Well, what you're seeing here, chat, is just that there are a ton of different extensions for Fusion. And I don't remember which one it is, but one of these lets you actually just hard code in some programming for a language. I don't think that was Java, though. By the way, there is a way to actually just directly use code in Fusion. It's just, I've never used it personally because as I'm more used to just using the event editor anyway, and I understand most of the logic behind it at this point. But yeah, there is a lot of flexibility with Fusion. It's just making sure you understand what the flexibility is. I will also mention, you're right, Jake Giedel, you're right. Java and JavaScript are two different languages. Fair point, fair point. I'm just bringing up how the there is some flexibility in Fusion 2.5. You just have to understand what extensions are out there and how to make use of them. Okay, let's just leave that. Okay. Indeed, just like any other tool. Exactly. And that's such a common misconception I see when people when I see some like people who want to start, you know, developing games, and they have the advice like, oh, you need to learn like C++ or something. Well, my response is always, depends what you're trying to make, you know? Your response is doubt. No, for some people it does make sense. It depends on what they're trying to make and what they're trying to do. If they want to go into the industry, of course, you know, learn C++ or something like that. But it's depending on what you're trying to build, that might not necessarily be necessary. Don't learn C++ immediately. Fair. It is. You're probably better off learning a different language first. I just pointed out that it's much better to think of game design as like, okay, think of it as like a project for which you need a certain set of tools to make, rather than, and oh, I need to use this certain thing in order to hit like the standards of something, or because it's what everyone uses now. Like, and then use the tool, basically use the tool that works, that you have the best understanding of, that will allow you to accomplish your goal, whatever that goal may be. Ooh. Well, that's an efficiency right there. So chat, I know the tile map's getting cut off there at the top, but the fortunate thing about that is that that's only just impassable terrain, so it doesn't really matter if that gets cut off, because it would only look like that anyway. Yeah, fair. That's another good point, JJ Eagle. A lot of younger devs have completely unrealistic expectations about what they can do with their skill sets or what they want to do. If they want to, go on to work in the industry and make their, some AAA thing, that's a good long-term goal to have if that's what you want to do. But it's like when you're starting out trying to make games, it's again, like you're saying, they get. I find that a lot of younger devs get burnt out really quick because they try to learn all this stuff and end up just working on a bunch of smaller projects that they're not super invested in, and then they lose interest. And I mean, I even remember when I was first trying to learn how to program, I was very frustrated because all the tutorials I was seeing online for things like ActionScript and stuff, which was the stuff being used to make a lot of Flash games at the time, I just couldn't quite fully understand it. And it was only when I started to branch out into things, I think it was the Games Factory 2 free edition, that I started to really get into the fun of actually just building a game, And as I learned more and more about it, I was able to do more and more with it, and well, here we are. And even after I took an AP computer science course in high school, and I've had to do various amounts of smaller programming for, various engineering stuffs when I was in college, I still prefer this. Yeah, it's such project value super nice, but will look good. What you want to focus more on are the what's the character story and music. Exactly, J. Eagle, exactly. I firmly believe that it is far more important that a game has solid fundamental gameplay and purpose behind it than it is to have a, we'll say, good, like a hyper-realistic aesthetic, if you will. In other words, because you have to remember, people still play games from like the 1980s and 1990s, even though obviously the graphics of back then were nowhere near what they are today. And they don't play it just because they're looking for great graphics. Of course not. They're playing it because they're just great games, So, Copper Nicholson, you can just go Google that on your own time. I have no understanding whatsoever of that stuff. But yeah, it's definitely J. Just far more important to focus on making the game itself than like how the game looks or things like Like that, like if you have a solid like fundamental gameplay loop or just fundamentals for the game, and people start to play it, you know, they'll keep playing it. Because I mean, certainly like good looks might draw in more, you know, some more potential players, but if the game just, you know, doesn't play well or isn't fun to play or isn't interesting to play for the audience you're intending it for, then, you know, what's the point? Like it's like they're much less likely to be retained. Yeah, but even if you had the skills to make that quality of a game, you're by yourself. That's going to take an infinitely long time. Exactly. So if you're working by yourself or with a small team, you need to be realistic with what you can produce and setting goals. And that's one of the reasons why I say to new devs when they're starting out, what's the first thing I should learn about you know, how to develop a game? One of the first things I'll tell them is just learn to be a better writer. So not only for the sake of storytelling, but also for the sake of planning. that helps infinitely more. Like learning how to do that and learning how to write pseudocode is an infinitely more valuable skill set I've found than being able to very quickly read different programming languages. At least in the context of making one's own video game. Anyway, that's a bit of an aside. We have our stuff imported. Okay, then we'll have to adjust the siding accordingly. So let's at least take care of re-envisioning how we're doing these sections right here. Oh yeah, that's also true, JG Eagle, and at least in the era of Flash games, that was a very easy thing to do. So what I loved about the era of Flash games, and for those who don't know what Flash games are, I feel so sorry for you, because it was such a wonderful time to be an up-and-coming game designer, I would say. Is when, you know, places like Newgrounds and Nitrome and, you know, Conrodate and things like that were super big. Like, during those periods in the history of video games is a time where you had ready access to so many Flash games of wildly varying qualities. You know, were a lot of them awful? Yes. Were a lot of them exceptional? Yes. And, you know, that was, I think, me too, JG the Eagle. And I feel like you see there's some pretty famous, you know, indie devs now that got their start like either building Flash games or playing a lot of Flash games. And I don't think that's by accident. So let me explain. Some of the best musicians in the world were some of the most successful musicians in the world. I think like the Beatles, they get their start because they just happened to be doing something that allowed them to get a lot of practice in, so to speak, or understandings for their craft. So in the case of the Beatles, they played in, we'll say, certain clubs and locations for a while. That was, you know, the opportunities they had, but that was allowed them to do just a lot of music and songwriting for a while before they could really start to try and form their own image, and that made them much, much better artists. So the same principle, I think, applies with people who've played and made, you know, a fair amount of Flash games. Is with Flash games, it happens really quick. Like, it's very rare for a Flash game, I feel, to last more than half an hour of playtime. A Flash game that does last more than half an hour of playtime is very well, and is well executed, tends to be, you know, a phenomenal game that could probably make it as just this indie game on its own. But getting back on topic, the beauty of Flash games is because they're so short and because they're easily accessible to such a wide amount of audience, especially people in, like, when they're super young. Like, I remember a lot of Flash games I played were either made by people in middle school or high school, and that's just because that's what they had access to. You see such a massive variety of art styles, of gameplay design principles, both good and bad, and just get exposure to a ton of different gameplay genres all at your fingertips, and it's all for free. You only have to sit through some ads. Oh yeah, for sure, J-Deedle. I was the same way. My first console was a computer. And that was the case for all of my formative years, so to speak. And because it was a rare, a rare opportunity to be able to actually purchase a PC game, you end up just playing a lot of Flash games, and it was amazing. So many cool Flash games were played. And it's a shame because now so much of that, I understand there's like Project Flashpoint and things like that to help like try to retain some of the stuff that was there. But at the end of the day, there's an entire generation, well, there's decades of, hidden, little game gems that new players aren't going to have access to for the sole reason in that Adobe Flash just isn't, functional anymore. And it's a shame. It's a real shame. But I will say, I would definitely credit the, I will definitely credit the Flash games for giving me just my perspectives on good versus bad game design, because I played the whole gamut, so to speak. I played terrible Flash games, and I played excellent Flash games, and I've played everything in between for all sorts of different genres, and that's where I get a lot of my inspirations and creativity for game design, as well as just understanding the fundamentals of good versus bad game design. It all came from playing so many different examples like that for years. So, only a fraction of the Flash games are available on stream too, but even like the Flash games that are available on Project Flashpoint, not every Flash game is available that way. I think of Nitro Me as a prime example of this. So Nitro Me, again, was I think it was a British Flash game studio that made just consistently quality Flash games. Like, almost like one a month. They were excellent at what they did. And these weren't short Flash games either. Typically, their Flash games would have anywhere between 20 and 35 levels. And they'd all have, like, very unique gameplay mechanics and excellent, like, difficulty scaling. For those of you who played Nitro games, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. Like, if I say things like Final Ninja, or Toxic, or Ice Capped, or things like that, or a game I love to refer to a lot, Tiny Castle, those are all made by the same developer, and that's Nitrome, or Nitrome as they're called. I played Nitrome was like was probably my favorite Flash game site to go to, because again, it was the same developer, so they had a certain style to them, and I really liked a lot of the fun they had with the gameplay mechanics they messed around with. So get that there. The problem is that a lot of the really brilliant, like, Nitro Flash games are no longer available simply because they don't support, like, Flashpoint or things like that. And, that's their choice. Completely in bounds for them to make that choice. I just think it's a shame that a lot of players won't be able to experience those wonderful games. So, J-Deedle the Eagle, if you had to pick just one Flash game to consider, like, something that you consider the most inspiring to you as a game developer, what would it be and why? For me, it's always going to be Tiny Castle, I would think, because Tiny Castle, to this day, still has probably the best level design I've seen in almost any video game, Flash game or otherwise. Like, so many excellent level design principles can be taught just to someone simply by playing Tiny Castle. It does its... you'd have to know rocksolidarcade.com to know this one. Let me look up the name. All right, fair enough. I mean, there's a ton of great Flash games out there, but it's just, to me, nothing compares to the pristine and artful level design of Tiny Castle. Like, the way they used and reused their space so seamlessly and kept it span upon their gameplay mechanics, just absolutely brilliant. I think I just do a 4x4 there and that should do it. Oh, actually no. I'm guessing rocksolidarcade.com was a lot like Congregate or something like that. Is that the case, JD Legal, where it's just a collection of different that Flash games to be uploaded to? Or like Armor games or things like that. Okay, JD Deedle says, the Flash game that he really remembers being formative for him was called Robokill. It's a top-down dungeon crawl shooter where you're a robot clearing aliens from a spaceship. In later games, Titan Prime, you're clearing a space station from robots. This was a game you always enjoyed and combined your favorite aspects of entertainment. A sci-fi setting, military characters, robots, sons of guns. Okay, I actually think I've heard of Robokill before, JD Deedle. I've just never actually played it, but that's really cool. That's pretty interesting. Alright, no worries, Copper Nicholson. Thanks for dropping by. If we're not talking about Flash games that involve most of the games right now, fair enough. As this time, more like Nitrome in that case, because all Nitrome would post as their own games, which is again a testament to how excellent of a developer they were at the time to be able to build such a massive catalog of different games. But since you mentioned robots, Jake Deedle, that actually reminds me, there was a series of 4 Flash games. I called it the Robot Wants series. So it's like Robot Wants Dog, Robot Wants Cat, like Robot Wants Ice Cream, things like that. What was really cool about those, the Robot Wants games, is that they were full-fledged Metroidvanias. Like, you had these huge levels that you could explore however you saw fit, but you were, gated off by needing certain abilities to go to certain areas. And again, following excellent Metroidvania level design principles. I would say, like, if I couldn't recommend Tiny Castle as, like, an example of how to do great level design, the next Flash game I would recommend is Robot Wants Ice Cream, because that also... That's the map in that game combines like 2 or 3 different massive maps, all with very different feels to them, in just one large map in a Metroidvania-ish style. I think it had even like, I think it even had like 10 bosses or something. It was just so cool. With a very silly premise behind it, but still, it was so cool to have that. Alright. Yep. Oh, it was super fun. So, you mentioned a dungeon crawler, and so far I've mentioned some platformers. If you were to recommend a Flash game that's a platformer, JD Eagle, which one would you recommend and why? Because for me, obviously, again, Tiny Castle, or Final Ninja Zero, or Toxic 2, those are all excellent Flash game platformers. Alright, I think... Did I finally adjust it all? I did. Hooray! Do a quick check over here. You played a lot of military racing games. Oof. You haven't had much experience with Flash platformers. Really? I'm kind of surprised by that, because there were a lot of good ones. You know, during the prime of Flash. Well, I guess that depends on your taste, because I mean, from my perspective, I played hardly any like Flash racing games, so this wasn't my thing. It wasn't something I was particularly interested in. So I guess that shows how we tend to experience things, you know, have access to the same types of games, but, you know, decide to experience completely different ones. There was a Flash Lego Star Wars game you enjoyed, though. Oh, cool. Do tell. Yeah, I forgot. You're right. There were some Lego Flash games. That's so true. Man, I remember there being like this Lego Flash game where you controlled like this walking like trash can or something, and you were always trying to like get to the end of the levels in like this puzzles, and there were just a ton of levels and got super complicated by the end. I forget the name of that Flash game, but it was the Flash game you're talking about, Cheat the Quest for R2D2. Cool. Honestly, I think Flash games that, we're gonna talk about Lego Flash games. There was this one, like, point-and-click Lego Flash game that had a really great art style. I forget what it was called, but it was set in the Bionicle universe. And you play as, like, one of the Matorans. It was really, really interesting to try and, you know, wander the world as Matoran, solve puzzles and things like that. Did you end up playing any, like, point-and-click Flash games, JD Eagle the Eagle? Because I could definitely recommend a couple ones that were pretty excellent for their time, even if their feels are quite different from each other. You ever a 3D vinyl game where you pull other characters? Seem to always lose. Yeah, some of those old games were very, very brutal in their difficulty. Alright, so we got this one all set up. So, let's see, if I could recommend any, like, point-and-click Flash games, the first ones I would definitely recommend is the Riddle School and Riddle Transfer series. So, I think the developer was John Bro, and he, you know, ironically, I grew up playing some of his Flash games as they were released, and they were, you know, they were definitely some of my favorite point-and-click Flash games. They had such a great sense of humor, and they were all made pretty clever use of their puzzles. Like, I genuinely thought, like, if John Bo really wanted to, like, he could just make, like, a Riddle School collection or something where it's, like, all 7 games bundled into one. I don't think he'd ever do that, but he definitely could if he wanted to. It had, like, he had so many entrants that it developed this. It went from a silly game about escaping in an elementary school and evolved into a much, much greater, a little mini universe with quite a bit of lore to it. It was a really, really cool point-and-click series. Never been huge in the fans genre and the idiot mechanics. Yep, fair enough, Chico. Although I will say, as someone who has been a dungeon master for, you know, for multiple years, as well as played in a bunch of other Dungeons & Dragons campaigns, it doesn't always have to be in the realm of fantasy. There's actually quite a number of sci-fi or even military-based, you know, rule sets one could use when playing Dungeons & Dragons. No, Copper Nicholson. I'm referring to Phil Eggtree from the Riddle School series, not Henry Sitman. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Henry Sitman games are fantastic, but for completely different reasons than the Riddle School series. Like, the Henry Stickmin games are just funny. Like, they're really, really funny and memey. Always have been, always will be. But Phil Eitri was the star of the Riddle School games, which is much more a point-and-click style series, a la the Humongous Entertainment games, except for, I'd say, a slightly more mature audience. If I were to recommend other point-and-click games, Gretel and Hansel 1 and 2 were also really good, though admittedly they're very creepy games, just by the nature of the subject matter. But it had an amazing art style, like an art style you'd see like almost in like one of those old gothic like fairy tale books. Great art style, really creepy and disturbing atmosphere. It fit for what they were trying to go for in it, though. Like, one of the things that I think, the thing about the Gretel and Hansel point-and-click games is, well, just with point-and-click games in general, in a lot of point-and-click games, you're just kind of invincible, and you're just free to click around until you solve the puzzle you need to move forward. Gretel and Hansel is an example of how to make a point-and-click game where the characters can die and quite easily. like, if you do a puzzle incorrectly, your characters just die and you lose. In certain circumstances in Gretel and Hansel. And that made, like, trying to solve the puzzles a lot more tense and the stakes seem a lot more real. And I think Gretel and Hansel 2 even had, like, alternate endings depending on how, which puzzles you decided to solve. It was really, really cool. Very creepy, but very, very cool nonetheless in terms of its design. And finally, I don't remember the name of them, but there were 2 Flash games that were like in a first-person perspective, and it used like these black and white images in the background of like different locations. One was like set in an old mansion, and the other was set in like this forest. And these were Flash games that were meant to be horror point-and-click games about like ghost hunting. But the difference was, it doesn't bank on jump scares. I think between the 2 games there was exactly 1 jump scare, and it was pretty mild. Like a ghost jumping out of a drawer that you decide to open. But it was much more about psychological horror, and it was really, really fascinating how cleverly they were able to build up, like, the ghosts you were going after. And, like, the reasons behind them, and discovering more about them. Okay, let's move to the lower well now. Time to rework this section. Yeah. Where did I put the... Oh, there. Boop. Yep. Alright. Did you have any favorite Flash games, Copper Nicholson? Since you're here? I was asking you, do you have any Flash games that you, like, really remember fondly? I can think of so many different ones. If I were to just talk to you, I could probably honestly do like an entire stream just reminiscing about and doing like a retrospective about different excellent Flash games. But that would definitely be a subject for something completely different. Oh, you like Henry Sedgman? Yeah, that makes sense. Really, really funny. And entertaining. Oh, I remember Tetris. The Tetris was so much fun. Or at least the animations for Tetris were fun. I thought the game was just okay, but the animations were so fun. Don't know if I ever played that one, Copper Nicholson. Alright. I'm guessing if you've played the Henry Stickmin games, Copper Nicholson, does that also mean you've played like Stick War before? Stick War is also a classic. Yep. Because the thing... Never heard of it? Really? So you've seen Tetris and you've seen Henry Stickmin, but you've never heard of, like, I guess, like, stickmangames.com or something like that? Like, there was an entire website that focused exclusively on games where stick figures were, like, the main focus of the Flash game. And that's how I found out about Henry Stickmin, as well as, Tetris. And Stick War was easily, I think, the most popular game on that website, and for good reason. It was a very fun mix between a real-time strategy game and a hack and slash. Appreciate the interest, Top Nicholson, but I'm pretty busy. But thanks for the thought, though. All right, let's just clear this out. This is a lot of nonsense right here. Actually, I could probably close this out now that I don't need... Yeah. Because there's no data in the area, it doesn't not click on the part due to. Oh, I remember. I haven't played that comprehensive, but I think I've seen like Markiplier or something play that. Yep. So that's a very fourth wall breaking game. Sounds pretty clever. Oh, really? Comprehensive. Interesting. Well, good for them. Good for them. It's cool to see some like of the excellent Flash game creators be able to reinvent their Flash games into something they can, you know, now sell on the market, so to speak. Like when I heard, for example, that there was a thing called the Henry Stickmin Collection, and I saw people starting to play that, oh boy, these people are about to introduce to something really special and really silly. So. Interesting, job rentals. Interesting. Cool. Cool. I need one of these. These. Put down here. Right, that should do it. Oh, wait, duh, no, hold it. Oop. Now that should do it. Alright, let's go for a little walk. I cannot remember how much of the platforming I put in here yet, so we'll figure it out. Oh yeah, I did this section, so... Alright, now we find ourselves in the middle. Oh dear. Well, that is clearly a glitch that we will have to address at some point. This is very silly. But as I... Well, let's at least take a look around this area. Anyway, I can cancel out of this. The infinite hops. But anyway, what I really want to see was just to make sure that this section had all the collisions active, and I believe it does. Alright. Yep. This is fascinating now I'm looking at this. So it seems that in this permanent hot state, all platforming is completely broken down. Can I repeat that? I wonder what caused that. So it's this section over here. I'm trying to think of what I did exactly to cause that. Because the thing is, I've ever seen that glitch before, but I don't think I've ever been able to replicate it. also need to figure out if there's anything I can do to, you know, fix it, because if it's just a random thing, that's definitely not something, that's definitely incorrect. Like, very, very much incorrect. Okay, so it occurred right here. So, like, right here. Was I, like, maybe when I was sprinting? No. What could it be? Alright. Alright, have it work out, Copper Nicholson. And now it's trying to... And this is what I mean, like, it's... I don't know exactly what caused it. But... Anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm unable to figure out what that is. I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being like some sort of speedrunning tactic. To be like, okay, and now you make Dorothy infinitely hop so that she can bypass other platform mechanics. Unfortunately, you can't attack like this, but oh well. Seems like one of those silly things. Anywho, middle setup. I think we'll take our first break of the night. Then when we come back, we'll get to programming some new slopes. So, Beer Baby Chat. All right, chat. Welcome back, everybody. So now we're going to go into the wonderful world of slopes. And I'd be saying, Antomicx, what is the wonderful world of slopes? Well, we have these things called these half tiles that act as our main slopes in this game, at least for program purposes. We're going to need, I think, a maximum height of 6 for these, which means we need to create 3 new active objects. So, first things first, let's clone this object 3 times. Four, 5, 6. Alright. Now let's make sure these look different enough. Alright. Okay. Okay. So we have the raw objects themselves here, but this, of course, is not going to be enough to do what we need to do. Up there. Plus, we want these to be closer over here on the right. There we go. And now basically, chat, what we have to do is look for anywhere in the code that references the wall tiles in some capacity and make sure that we're adjusting things accordingly. Alright, so it looks like we'll have to do something around here. Oh no. Line 118. Boop. Right on the left. So basically what these lines will do once we add them, we'll make sure that the level 4s have proper collision from the sides and above. Or from down below, I should say. Level 4, level 4, level 4. Okay. Level 4, level 4. That. Get that. Okay. That's level 4's done. Now you repeat the process for level 5 and level 6. Yep. Yep. That over there. That over there. Get that. Alright, fair enough, Tabernacle. Well, thanks for dropping by. I hope you have a good rest of your night. Yeah, fair enough. Best wishes for your rest of the night, Copper Nicholson. Oh, almost missed one there. I'll just do the same for level 6. All right. Level 6. Alrighty. That's that section of lines complete. Okay, what's next? Ah, collision control. That's probably, yep, just what I thought. So chat, for those who are wondering what this means, this is basically to make sure that planar projectiles that move in the 2D plane, you know, up, down, left, right, get destroyed by walls that are at a higher elevation than the player. So, all we need to do is expand out this line a bit. So, bop, 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 bop. So I think that should be all of the tiles. Okay. So we have our collision control. Next is the... I'm not going to mess around with the pathfinding here because... Well, this is important. This is all using the... I think this is using the old pathfinding code. It'll be an easy way to tell if it is or not. Oh, yeah. Yep, that's, I think, how we know. So if I go to line 1039, what I should see is a bunch of things related to, like... Yep, this is the old Cobra code. I'll have to leave that alone for the time being. Let's at least just make a note of that. Note. When transferring new Cobra pathfinding code to other frames, make sure to add collision detection / control for slopes at a height of z equals 4 through z equals 6. Okay, so nowhere in the Cobra for now. I think this is all, yeah, this is all part of the Cobra subset, isn't it? Yep, alright. Ignore the Cobras for now. Rattles, that we can definitely add, though. One, two, three. Grab that. That. Cool. Right. That line's been added accordingly. Yeah, so pretty much any kind of projectile collision needs to make sure we have the correct lines of code for our different slopes here. Okay, so is reference set is on. Alright, level 6, level 6, level 5, level 5, level 4, level 4, level 3, level 3. Okay. Another collision thing. Yep. Yeah, for those who are wondering what I'm doing, I'm making sure, again, that projectile collision is all set up to work with the new slopes we just made. So that way we don't end up in a circumstance where a projectile will just go through a slope. 6, 06. 6, 6, level 5, level 5, level 4, level 4, level 3, level 3, level 2. Okay. Very good. Very, very good. And now for the meat and potatoes, so to speak. So... this wall falling section can get very complicated very quickly, I think. I'll need to dig through it. Okay, so they seem to be grouped up in sections of 3. Just grab that. Fills the following conditions. Alright. Let's start with our z equal 4 here. So, none of these. We just have our simple half tiles. Yeah. And now I'm adjusting the actual platform, sorry, the actual code that would cause the controls, whether the player slides down a slope or not. That's what I've been doing here. Right. Yep. Okay. I think that should be everything. Let me just double check something. 52. Yep, that was the last section. Okay. Well, chat. Time to test. So let's make a little mock-up here. You'll need you. And you. The principle of this test will be quite simple. We're going to stagger the slopes between their various platforms to make sure they behave as intended. You're wondering why I'm offsetting it like this? It's to test it, projectile collision against the slope itself, not against a particular platform. Oh. We'll move this over here. Since this should provide sufficient testing area for us. I'm noticing that's invisible, but that's okay. We still know roughly where it is. So, obviously our control group, as expected, it gets, it's supposed to slide over that. Whereas if we're at a lower elevation, so, yep, that gets destroyed, that gets destroyed, destroyed, also gets slid, destroyed, and destroyed. Good. That's just a simple slopey test. Alright, well, if you're wondering why it looks like it was there, it says I was technically at a much higher z-axis height there. So you'll notice the amount of time I'm falling staggers there, which is to be expected. In terms of just a straight down platform test. And I try to run against this, nothing happens. I jump up, nothing happens. Perfect. 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 Alright, now for a slope test. Good. 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 Oh, that was weird. Alright. As to be expected at a lower elevation, I should not be able to walk through this on either side. Good. Also, that's a nice little shortcut. Now, test, I should be able to jump over this without sliding down. Yep. Alright. I wonder if I can line this up. Yep. That's actually a good test to attempt. Yep. Up here. Good. Alrighty. I think, chat, I think we got it. I think we got our slopes. They're glorious. They're glorious. Well, now we have a bunch of slopes we can play with, so that's very, very good. I will want to transfer this stuff over to the other frame, so that way it can be used. So what we'll do is we'll have to copy over this and then bring over the code and make sure it works on the other frame. And once we've done that, then of course we'll be able to start building, like really, really building. Like from there, we'll literally have, I think all or at least most of the platforming tiles that we need. The only thing I could think of that might need to be adjusted as needed is the floor set things, but we can cross that bridge when we get there, so to speak. Anywho, I'm going to take a quick break, chat, and then we'll get to transferring code and continue building. So, BRB. Alright, chat, welcome back, everybody. So, now we're going to continue where we left off. We're just going to transfer, well, first we'll copy these to the other frame we're developing. So, down here. Boop. Then we'll copy over the code. Copy that, Control C. Right, brought that over. Next. Right, and the hitbox, line 845. Okay. Boop. Okay. So, if done correctly, 848. Alright, now that's line 847. Very good. Okay. Next. Right, that's going to be the rattle line of sight checks. It's line 1276. Very beefy line, but still a line nonetheless. Lines, 1276, yeah. Here it is. Yep, done correctly. 1278. 1277. Very good. Next. Alright, so we got the rattle. That's his mouse combat. Or not mouse combat, range combat. Line 1464. good. Next will be line 1471. Control C. Or I guess in this case it's a slightly different line because there's different amounts of code here. Basically the line that controls all the collisions, which is this line here. Let's do 70, 1469. There we go. Okay. Yep, so we copied over 1471. Alright, all that's left is the wall falling stuff. Which I think I should be able to... I think I should be able to just directly copy this over. For the most part. 1 second. Starts at line 1698. Let me check that. Yeah, it's all new stuff down here. So, copy that. Add after the level 2 platform stop. Whatever that is. Right here. Yep. That should be everything. Oh. Yep, that should be everything. Run ourselves a little test. Then it'll be the same test as last time. I think, yeah, the only spot I can really test this is up here. Everywhere else is just too cluttered. Which, ironically, that's actually a decent spot to test this because it's, right next to the save point. Okay. Oh dear. Can't see anything. Yep. So, first the slope test. Can I get... Yep. Get nice and yeeted. Yes, the sweet spot will be right here. Right there. Yep. Good. Uh-oh. I think I found a different problem. Let me guess. So I'm guessing I didn't add projectile collision for the... Hold on. For the platforms themselves, did I? Nope. Okay. That is a bug to fix, but right now we'll focus on the slopes. It's probably a pretty easy fix. I just gotta make sure these work correctly. Okay. Good. 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 Just make sure I'm staying firmly on it. Good, good, good. All right. Yep. Alright, well, the slopes work. I do need to adjust the projectile collision for the floor tiles, but that's, again, not too difficult. Alright. Cool. Yep. that covers that. Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Move that over here. Yep. Very, 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 very good. Yep, one more over here. I think that'll be the last projectile setting thingy. Oh, whoops. I'm on autopilot. It should be a 5. Logic is all the same. All right. Yeah, everything else doesn't involve projectiles. All right, that should work. Then Thomas realizes his one mistake. He didn't leave a way for Dorothy to test it. Actually, I take that back. We can run out this way. We'll just run all the way into the ether over here to test our thingies. Yeah. So in theory, okay, got destroyed. Got destroyed. Got destroyed. Now there's a level 3 tile here, just invisible. Okay. It's destroyed. It's destroyed. Actually, they even... Oh, okay, okay, good. It's destroyed. Used. Doesn't get destroyed, but that is okay because we are not using these tiles in our build for this level in particular. I think we got it. Alright. Now let's copy over the code. It was adjusted.
Remember all the happy times we had? Very much alike. Remember all the happy times we had?
48. 847. Very good, very good, very good.
Very much alike. All right. I'll tell you the truth.
Corral line of sight is next. Here it is. Boop. Very good. I'll add to my notes here. Also need to add projectile. Okay. Yeah, the rattle detection thingy. Next we have our ranged ballistic collisions. So Gremlin 1464. Let's see. Yep, here's the line. I know there's another line. Just a smidge below that. Will need to be copied over. Yep, under their ranged effects collisions. This line. Yep. And there it is right there. Oh. I think there might have been something else. Let me double check. Range for effects collision. No, that was it. All right. Before we can just do a quick test. Nothing happened. Very good. Nothing happened. Good, nothing happened. Alright. Just testing to make sure the projectiles work as expected. Good. Good. Yep. Very good. All right, chat. With those all set up, it means we're ready to continue building. Where did we leave off? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15. Oh, hello, Copper Nicholson. Welcome back. How's it doing? Oh, nice. Having ribs sounds delicious. Well, writing can be fun, Copper Nicholson, for sure. Writing can be fun. Also, Copper Nicholson, on our end, we've been. I finally finished transferring over the slope code and the platforming code, so now we're ready to continue building. So, as we say, this is where the real fun begins. Whoops. I see, Copper Nicholson. I see. Well, it's good to be motivated then. Move you over here, over here, over here. Right, I need like 10 of these. Oh. All right. So. I've only ever watched Law and Order occasionally, and just seen it randomly on TV. But I don't really sit down to watch full episodes. What I do need to test real quick is if I were to make this like really wide for some reason. Would that still function as I expected it would? It would. Alright, that gives me ideas. Much room for activities, as we say. I saw an episode, Copper Nicholson. I think the best balance here is going to be... I'm trying to test this. I send this order all the way to the back. What happens? Okay. In that case, how many of these will this take? Let's go with 7. Oh, that's too many. Copper Nicholson Deep Space Nine had it years ago. If you're referring to like Lower Decks, no, I don't generally watch that, so. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15. Work as his own franchise. I'd believe it. I'd believe it. And depends on what you mean by that, Copper Nicholson. I think it's mostly about the Latin and that taste, Copper Nicholson. And have there ever been times where Cortez stood up for others? Yes. But usually there's some profit to be had in the background. Not always, but often. Alright. Yeah, it would be cool if Miles came back. Alright, we'll need a floor set for a level 3 tile. It's debatable. I think he's wherever the prophets are, Copper Nicholson. Alright, looking at that, I need a floor set tile for level 3. I think that should work. Let's I'll have to do some testing. That'd be my best test, Copper Nicholson. Right, we did over here on the right. There's actually zero reason for this to be a level 2 area, so that's all just cosmetic at that point. Cool. Right, bottom right. Right. Over here. All looking good. That room, you know, we still have to finish it anyway. Alright, the only thing I can think of is making sure that the projectiles work properly with that floor set, so... Where is it? Okay. Where is it? You must find it. It's hiding. Where? Oh, where? Oh, it's probably here. Aha! This literally has no code. Okay, let's call this floor set C. Well, I mean, Copper Nicholson, it's a big galaxy, so there's probably tons of different alien species in Star Trek. Fair enough, Copper Nicholson, fair enough. Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense for here. What on earth is this? Right. Well, nope, nope, no, that won't make any sense. I haven't watched enough of that show to have an opinion one way or the other, Copper Nicholson. Okay. I think we got it. All right. Well, chat, I think I've outlined the level, but the real question, will it work? All right. Time to do some testing. Okay. So can't quite reach that. What happens if I try to split this down the middle? Any weird stuff? No. All right. Cool. That successfully stops us from moving upward like that. Now if I were to go this way, yep, nice seamless transition. No weird stuff happening. As you can see, we can't just... Oh? Hold on, if I sprint jump that. Okay. So we still obviously don't have enough bandwidth to actually reach out that way. I'll stop projectiles, very good. If I just walk down here, whee! That's cool. Over here, still functions as intended. I think the level 3 slopes are invisible here, but that's okay. Whoa. As that was a little janky, but I guess that's to be expected. The jank. The jank. I'm fairly indifferent, Copper Nicholson. I haven't finished watching the first one. Alright, so if I walk up here, nice and seamless, no weird stuff happening. Very good. I was unaware of that movie, Copper Nicholson. Okay. So I can walk up this way, I can throw a projectile, nothing weird happens. Very good. Yep. Alright, Copper Nicholson. So basically what I'm doing right now is I'm testing this platforming section. Cool. Alright, this all seems to make sense. Throw a projectile, still makes sense. Projectile, still makes sense. Any weird stuff happening if I like hop around a bit. Huh? Ah. Well, that is strange. Well, that is very silly. I wonder why that happens. Maybe it's a platforming stop issue? Following animation. Okay. It's probably because we're like right in between the different platform set things. My guess is we should probably be having the higher elevations take priority to avoid this glitch. No, you haven't noticed anything, Howard. It's just a very silly little glitch. I'd say this is fairly harmless because it can't really... The only times these set or platforms occur are in hallways with no enemies. But I think we should at least try to remedy that. It's a minor glitch. Yeah, very silly, but not like, not game breaking. What was the last Disney movie I saw? Oof, that's it's been a while now I think about it. I'm honestly having trouble remembering. Whoa, did I just... Oh, pfft. Well, that's... No. I guess it is theoretically possible to dash across, isn't it? That's it. Yep, so we're like high enough. Oh, that is funny. I like that though, that's actually kind of charming in a sense. I've not seen that one. Alright, well, the good news, Copper Nicholson, and the good news for everyone watching here on YouTube, is that it looks like all the platform placement has worked. So, there is one final thing I need to test with the platform placement, though, and it's probably the most fun thing. Can I slide down the well? From the top to the bottom? That is the real question. So, one thing I have noticed is that with projectiles, if you were to throw downward, it eventually would have destroyed by that. Now, obviously, functionally, this has no bearing on the game because you shouldn't be able to hit an enemy this direction anyway. It's just players will notice their projectiles disappearing a certain distance down the well. So we could chop that to actually like hitting the other side of the wall, I'd have to imagine. Let's get some stamina. Let's try to sprint jump in this. Whoa. Wow, we can really hop up there, can't we? Okay. Oh, there's a pretty easy way to fix that. We just throw in some little 4 tiles and that'll stop us immediately. Alright. Let's test this well. Whee! 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 Ah, that's fun. What do we got? What happens if I'm like falling down these things and like try spamming things? So, all right, we still seem to be okay. All right, only modification I want to make more use of these. And this will make sure we can't sprint jump up a portion of the wall. That's very silly. Okay. Alright, now if I try to sprint jump up the wall, you'll notice it clearly stops us, which makes sense. We shouldn't be able to just, you know, yeet ourselves up the side of a well. Alright, now the real question, can I still slide down this? We'll do weird things. Alright, does... The jank is apparent, but... I mean, the sliding still happens. Favorite Disney princess? Probably Mulan. What about you, Copper Nicholson? Alright, if I were to add some of these, would that reduce the jank? Probably not, but let's at least test it. Oh dear. I can't tell if that was better or worse. Maybe a little better? I mean, Mulan went to fight in place of her father in a war. I think that's very brave and courageous of her. Okay. I think, regarding the jank of falling down the well, I think it's actually less with fewer slopes. I think it's merely a question of how many slopes are being used. Yeah, honestly, this is kind of fun. Just, you know, sliding down the well. Just be like, wee! Just like, wee! Wee! Who is Cherubi? Copper Nicholson. I don't know if I've heard of that one. Well, actually, it'd be either Mulan or Rapunzel, because Rapunzel actually does a lot of character development thanks to the TV show she's a part of. I'm curious as to whether the jumpy glitch occurs on the other platform, so we can test that right over here. So if I'm right here, seemingly not. Alright. So I think the jumping glitch is just an issue with the floor set C's here. If I had to guess what it is, it's probably whichever floor stops are being activated. Where is it? Alright. Go with level 2 and activate level 3 and see if that fits it. I don't know who that is, Copper Nicholson. Alright, nope, that's still there. Why there, though? Also just be a matter of what order things are in. If we're over that one. Wait. 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 I gotta check something. So the purple one is 2. Okay. conduct a little experiment here. Oh, you're referring to something from Black Panther. That's why I didn't recognize it, because I haven't fully watched that movie. Right. Okay. If this doesn't work, then I'm going to assume it's a scoping problem, and I'll just have to reorder where the thingies are. Okay. Alright, scoping problem. And all that means is, in theory, if I move these lines from here to the top of here, in theory, this should fix the problem because it's prioritizing the code that represents a higher elevation. Alright, let's try it out. Nope. Strange. Very strange. I wonder what it could be then. I don't think we have this issue with the other types. Yeah, no, it seems fine over here. Oh, this is probably it. So, hypothetically, that's the only line that would be doing that. Hypothetically, if I were to get rid of these, what would happen? Would this just completely break everything? I think it's only the top one there. Will this break everything? No, Copper Nicholson, no. They work together in the end. It's a cool ending. Alright. First things first, let's just make sure we haven't horribly messed up this thing over here. Okay. So everything seems quite smooth. Alright, I happy hop. Nothing seems amiss. I can sprint to my heart's content. That still works. No. I don't have sticky keys now. Whee! Right around here. No! Why? 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 It's only here. No, I think they both relinquished their powers in the process. Which makes sense. It's... That is falling off. Oh, that might be it. Question of what's saying is falling off. Well, that fits it. Let's find out. Oh, here. So, that prevents... That's funny. It's worse. Actually, now I think about it, it might not be this line at all. It could very well just be this line. So, Forza A. What would happen, just hypothetically, if I put you there? So that way we're not saying on is fine, because I think it's something to do with that. Yeah, I think very end gets a happy ending. No, why? I don't understand. What is the loop here? What is the loop? What is the loop? Bit of rivet there. Oh. So what confuzzles me about this chat is this seems to work just fine on the other two. Oh, dude, that fits it? I think that might have fixed it. Alright. That was it. There's an overlap issue. Well, then you still have a ways to watch Copper Nicholson. Right, now if I go over here... Good. Alright, I think that fits the bug. So, chat, you know what that means? It means we have finally actually gotten all the collision mapping for the most part for this level that we have so far. So at least for like this top portion. So this is all set. Now if we just go in and make all these invisible at the start. Then what will happen as you can see, so again, we see none of the walls anymore, like physically, but it's still functional now. So now everything works exactly as intended. So chat, minus the green X's, which can be made invisible, this is largely, you know, what the feel would be in terms of platforming. So again, it all makes sense. It all lines up with visually what you see. I call that progress. I call that very good progress. Whee! And of course we can go down the well. Whee! Bit janky, but you know. I think the jank adds a little bit of charm to it. What do you call that? Features? I can have our little platforming in bit. DiGiorno? Why DiGiorno though? I don't get it. Because you're delivering us quality. I see. I get it. Well, the good thing is, I'm glad we are making progress. Something I don't understand though is why I can't just click the little transparent button to make these things transparent. Like I can do that. But if I do that, I won't be able to see them when I'm developing, which is weird. Oh, is that it? No. Doesn't help. I lose the transparent option now. What difference is there here? I have to do like a starter frame thing. These even no, we can't program with this, can we? I don't think we can. Because it's just a backdrop object. Alright. Well, that's something I can look into. The worst case scenario is they just make it invisible and have to keep in mind where these things are. No comment on that, Copper Nicholson. But anyway, I think this will be a good spot to begin wrapping things up. But basically, Net's dev stream will continue building, but this time we'll move down to the lower well, since that has a lot of platforms to be placed, but at least we have everything set up to be prepared for that. So then, if you're watching this on Twitch, feel free to stick around for a raid. But if you're watching this on YouTube and you like what you saw, please consider subscribing on YouTube. It's free to subscribe on YouTube. You can always change your mind later, and it's a great way to show support. If you're watching on YouTube, I hope you have an amazing night.